There's a great irony to that today, Donald Trump's inauguration falls on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Martin Luther King and what he stood for in the 60s and the civil rights movement, our incomplete goal of perfecting an imperfect union. Uh, being on Donald Trump's inauguration is a great coincidence and irony. This is the second time in history uh, that inaugurations fall on the inauguration of the president falls on MLK Day. Uh, the civil rights movement harkens back to the original founding of America and our original sin of slavery. Jefferson writes in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal. Obviously, he does that despite owning slaves and despite the original sin of slavery. And uh, our founding sin being that despite saying that our creed is that we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, in fact, it wasn't. It wasn't the case. Then the second founding of America, the 14th and 15th Amendments in the 1860s, following the Civil War, led by the emancipation of slaves by President Lincoln, is kind of the next chapter of the great civil rights struggle of trying to hold our promise that all men are created equal, that all peoples are created equal, and that the promise of America is for all people, not just whites or not just white, rich, land-owning men, but it's for all people of all different creeds and all different colors, all genders. And then 100 years later, in the 1960s, you have the Civil Rights Movement, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You have desegregation, Brown v. Board of Education, and then I guess the third so that would be like the third. You have Jefferson, then you have Lincoln, and then you have King. And then I would argue that the next chapter in this saga was Obama and the birth of a new multicultural America in 2008. He says there's not a Black America and a white America and a Latino American and Asian America. There's the United States of America. He says that in his 2004 commencement address. And then in or convention address, and then he speaks. He gives a very famous speech. A more perfect union is what he calls it, and he says we're in a racial stalemate. A racial stalemate we've been stuck in for years. But it is possible and more important than ever for us to get out of it together. That the great challenges of America need to be solved together. That is his overwhelming political message. And in each point in these, after Jefferson and after King, after Jefferson and then after Lincoln and then after King and after Obama, there's a white lash. There's a backlash fueled by a politics of white grievance. Obviously, like Jim Crow and Reconstruction is the greatest example of that. You have decades of reversing the accomplishments of Lincoln. Certainly, Trump is part of that white lash history. And that's why there's just such great irony today that, we want every year at this, on the 20th of January, we think about King's dream and aspirations for America, protecting freedom and justice and democracy for all peoples, of opportunity to vote for all people, opportunity to pursue the American dream for all people, Black and white, all colors. President Trump actually acknowledged Dr. King's legacy in his speech today, but there's just such great irony. Trump has built a political career on white grievance politics, and today I think people who love King's message and love the future that King wanted, I think it's a really hard pill to swallow seeing President Trump reinaugurated. 4 years after he tried to overturn an election, 4 years after, 8 years after Obama's leaving the White House.